Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Friday, and all of our guests today, including Ray Ferraro, standing by. Sponsored by Passant Motors. Purchase a vehicle at Passant Motors this month, and they pay your GST. Also, did you know you can get a car with zero down payment? Get all the details at Passant Motors, BASANT Motors.com. Canucks beat Ottawa 5-2 last night. We're now joined by Ray Ferraro from the NHL on ESPN. And last night in Ottawa, he worked his first game as a Canuck analyst. Ray, thanks for doing this. How are you? And how good does that feel? And I know you grew up a Canuck fan and a Bruins fan, but a Canucks fan as well. Yeah. How good does that feel to hear yourself described as Canucks analyst?
Better than I thought, Donnie. It was more fun last night than I thought it was going to be. It was, I don't know. It felt right. It felt, of course, Shorty and Murph are, were two of my very best friends. And, we've played literally hundreds of rounds of golf together. And, so I know them well. Greg Shannon, the producer, I worked with him when I first started broadcasting, when I was doing the Oiler games, and that was, 20 years ago. And so to come and work with everybody again was really fun. I found it remarkably easy to work with Shorty. It's one thing to listen to him, like I have forever, but to work with him, he's so good and so easy to work with. And it was awesome. It was really, really, really fun.
We'll get to last night's game in a second, but how much of a fan were you of the Canucks? And again, I know you were an Orr fan, a Bruins fan, but how much of a fan of the Canucks were you growing up in Trail?
Well, of course, back then, as people of our age will know, it's like there were no other games to watch. Like that was it. So Saturdays, it was the Canucks. And so the guys I remember the most early were like Don Lever. I remember when his consecutive game streak ended when he broke his jaw and like how unbelievable it was that he was going to miss games. And, Cesar Maniago was from Trail and, was really an idol to many of us in Trail. And so those are my early guys that I was with. But I think the time I really, really locked in was as I'm growing up as a kid, but was that series with Chicago that was an absolute war. I remember leaving to go to baseball practice, and like the game was still going on. It was in Chicago Stadium, and they were still, the big boys like Delorme and those guys were still going at it. You remember that series, right? It was 80. It was
the White Towel. Yeah, it was 80. Okay, yeah.
And it was unbelievable to think that, like, this team had, it was in our fabric growing up. It was almost like you didn't have a choice. You had to watch the Canucks. You watched them every Saturday. I wanted to watch the Bruins once in a while. They never were on. Yeah. But for me, it was, Jim Robson growing up on Saturday night.
Yeah, a big deal. That was before the White Towel series in 82 with Chicago. Hey, Ray, so the Canucks beat Ottawa 5-2. Yep. Everything is wine and roses these days with the Canucks. What are you seeing out there?
Well, lots of things, really. Like I thought early that was about as perfect a start as you were going to get. Not just the 2 goals. I mean, that never happens, right? Like, you never score like that quickly, and the pair of goals they had, but they looked really smooth and they came out of their zone quick and they were organized, and then all of a sudden they didn't have it, but that's the part of the game I think I was most impressed with, was even when they didn't have it, they weren't generating much offensively. They didn't seem to have their legs, I would say, but they didn't come unglued. It didn't look chaotic. They weren't running around. They were just kind of plodding their way through the game. Like one of the biggest misnomers is you hear coaches and players and fans say, well, they haven't played a 60-minute game. It's almost impossible to play 60 minutes and dominate 60 minutes or control 60 minutes because the other team's trying to do the same thing. So in those moments you don't have it, that to me has been the biggest thing that I've seen in the early part of the season is when they don't have it, they're still organized. They're still consistent in the way they play shift to shift. There was there's been a couple of like individual periods where it was a fire drill, but that happens to everybody. And then they're able to kind of get it back on the rails. And it's a long year, and you're gonna have to fight through those times that don't work so well for you.
Ray, the young core, Demko, Pettersson, Hughes, Besser, they played for Green and Boudreau, but why are they turning it around with Tocchet?
Oh boy, Dolly, I don't think there's one probably reason for it. Like some of it would be maturity, age.
Yep.
Like they've now got hundreds of games literally behind them in the NHL. They've had really great moments and really lousy moments, and now you can handle a little bit more of those ups and downs that happen every year. I do think the one thing with Talk, and I mean it's been, since he took over, I think the consistency and directness of his message to the players, to the media, it's always the same. And so the expectation is pretty clear to all of them. And the one thing that, I look at what they've done, you just mentioned the young guys. I look at what he's done to connect with JT Miller. Yeah. And that's a center you don't want to play against. Like I wouldn't want to play against a guy that big that can score like that, that's that strong. Because if he's connected to the game, like where's the weak part for another center to exploit? And the fact that Talk can connect to these guys on each guy's different, and to connect individually is really it's a special thing. Maybe the best at it over the last decade has been John Cooper. And you can say that, Tampa's got all these great players, which, their core is pretty awesome, but it's the way that guys that were big scorers took a different role. They understood why they needed to take that role. And it's all the communication that goes from coach to player.
Ray, just crazy numbers from Quinn Hughes this year. He's only 3 points off. Never mind defenseman scoring. The entire league, he's 3 points behind Pettersson, who's leading the league. Boy, we're running out of words to describe Quinn Hughes, Ray. I mean, you give it a shot. I mean, he's just been unreal.
Well, there's that group of guys now, which I think is really cool, that are among the conversation of the best defensemen in the league. Now, I think Cale Makar is generationally the best player that's played on the blue line in a long, long time. But now there's like Quinn is in that group. Adam Fox is in that group. Charlie McAvoy is maybe on the tail end of that group. But these guys are young. They're game changers. Like they can play big minutes. They can defend. They all defend in a certain way. Like Fox and Hughes. Fox doesn't skate like Hughes. But they defend the same way with their feet and their stick. We showed a highlight last night where Quinn got beat. He turned the puck over at the blue line and he spun back. He had to go 140 feet back to his net. And his angle and his skating took away all chance of danger. He didn't really even hit anybody. And, the best guy that I ever played against that never ran into you and always took the puck away was Nick Lidstrom. You'd be going down the boards, you have the puck, and all of a sudden it's going the other way. And Quinn is able to do that. His offense is remarkable. His agility on the blue line, like if you're a forward, they always tell you, keep the D in front of you, make sure you don't let them get outside of your lane, your stick width. It would be a nightmare to try and keep a handle on him. Him and Makar lose guys at the blue line like they're in running shoes and they're on skates. It's so fun to watch. And the fact that right now the puck's going into the net all over the place for them, but it doesn't even seem to matter on a good night or a bad night. They create enough chances that they're going to score. And I mean, where he is right now, where Pettersson is, like last night, I didn't think those guys had a great night. Mm-hmm. the whole team looked a little sluggish, and they score 5 goals again. Like it's pretty remarkable.
Talking with Ray Ferraro. Ray, you played against Rick Tocchet, and if I'm not mistaken, you played with him in Los Angeles. What was that like, and could you see him becoming a head coach back then?
No, you know what? I missed Talk in L.A.
Okay.
Played against him and terrified of him. Like honestly, like he was mean. And when he hit, like when he finished his check, he went like right through you. His consistency of his game, like you never wondered how Rick Tocchet was going to play. When he went to Pittsburgh and he was on those, that great run of teams there. And, I had played against him in Philly, and then he gets to Pittsburgh and his game didn't change. All of a sudden he's with Ronnie Francis and Mario Lemieux, and his game's the same. I mean, he could score, he could fight, he run over top of our D all the time. And in a game where, now if you want a forecheck, you just skate by the forwards. They can't slow you down. And in our game, it was basically a mugging to get to the defenseman. And you couldn't get enough people in front of guys like Tocchet because they were going to fight through whatever screen you set, and they were, the D were going to pay a price. And I wouldn't have known whether he was going to be a coach or not. If you get a chance to talk to him for 10 minutes, he is a hockey junkie. Like he loves it. Not just peripherally about the game, but like he just loves the detail of the game. And I would have never known that just from playing against him, because with him, as I said, everything was a straight line, and whatever bump was in front of him, he went right over top of him. And now I look and the adjustments they make, him and Mike Yeo and Adam Foote and Sergei Gonchar, the adjustments they make is, maybe changing a breakout that doesn't work, or changing the penalty killing, using more people. They're going to get Teddy Bluger back pretty quick. And yeah, he seems to have a really good feel for that. The adjustments that happen in game they're tough. They happen fast, and he seems to have a really good handle on that.
Ray, you mentioned back in the day, started your broadcast career working all those Oilers broadcasts. I got to ask you, they lose to San Jose last night. It seems like a tire fire. The obvious question, what is wrong in Edmonton?
They're at the point right now, guys, where they're playing whack-a-mole. And, they try to fix one thing and something else pops up over here. It's you don't need to have the best goaltending in the league. You can't have the worst. So we'll start there. And, they signed Jack Campbell. They were 2 years ago. They were, 2.5 years ago. They're looking for a number one goaltender. There's no way they know Stu Skinner is going to be that close to playing in the NHL. Mike Smith is retiring. They can't go back to Koskinen because that had been a nightmare for them. And there was Darcy Kemper and Jack Campbell, and they're scouts, and their organization decided on Campbell, and he just hasn't done it. He has not had it for them. And so you try to fix the goalies. That's one. Two is defensively, they made a shift in the offseason to play more, less man-to-man, more zone in their defensive zone, and it's just not worked. I mean, look at the games Vancouver's played against them, and they're scoring goals from all over the place. It's not just like one area. And then if you go up front, I don't know if Draisaitl or McDavid scored last night. I don't think so. But if I told you right now, what were the odds that Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid would be tied in 5-on-5 goals with Sam Gagner, who's played like 4 games? Yeah. Would you have taken that bet, right? Like it's crazy. The bottom end of their lineup, they don't have a few goals, they have none. So when you say what's wrong, like everything. But how do you fix it? Like there's no trades to make. Like they have to find a way. This is going to sound really stupid, but they have to find a way to try less. The harder they try, the worse it gets. There is no relax in their game. Everybody looks like they're just grinding everything. the top guys, we talked about the bottom, but Draisaitl, McDavid, Kane, Hyman. I'm forgetting one more. Oh, Nugent Hopkins. Mm-hmm. You're like polar opposite from that. They may, whether they want to or not, they may have to get to the coach, because there's really I just don't see how you could make a significant course direction change in season. I just don't see how you do it.
We could go on and on, Ray. We'll let you go. But by the way, I loved, you mentioned Cesar Maniego moments ago. I love the photo you tweeted out from back in the 60s, the beautiful North Stars jersey. He's behind the net playing the puck, and he's playing the Leafs. I don't know why, but those old photos look better than the new photos. I don't know what it is, but I love that.
Why is that?
I don't know. Do you agree with me?
Like, I do. It's like the contrast or whatever it is. It just looks so perfect. And the one thing, we always see these pictures of the goalies without the masks. Mm-hmm. How perfect is their hair?
Yeah. You know what that's called,
amazing.
Ray? That's called Brill Cream.
Yeah.
Oh, and they loaded up on it, man. It looks solid.
It looked good.
It looks solid.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, before I go, Donnie, congratulations.
Thanks.
Awesome for you. And Dolly, just remember, you're sitting next to a legend, buddy?
Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I'm the sidekick, Ray. I'm the sidekick.
Hey, let him go.
Hey,
we're going to leave on a high note here.
Sidekicks are good. We'll take that. We'll take that. And are you signing things now? Do you put like HOF at the bottom or anything like that?
You got me. I'm already there. Yeah.
Attaboy. Take care. And guys, thanks a lot. We'll talk soon.
Appreciate it.